hopefully you liked the footage I was able to get with my iPhone 16 Pro Max and Freewell's new iPhone anamorphic lens, which Freewell kindly sent me for free to make this video. But now let me share with you what I think about this lens after using it for about 2 weeks or so. So first of all, in terms of like pricing, the 1.33x option is going to be $250, and then the 1.55x option is going to be $300, at least during the launch period. Maybe later on they will change the price. But if you ask me, this is kind of expensive. I mean, $300 for just a smartphone lens is a bit pricey. I mean, I can pay pretty much the same amount for a high quality Chinese mirrorless camera lens, and here you are just getting like basically a smartphone lens. But at the same time, it's a very high quality iPhone lens with good optics and fantastic build, and also you do kind of get 3 lenses in one, at least in terms of like the lens flare options and whatnot, which I'll talk more about later on in the video. But still, it is kind of pricey. $300 just for an iPhone lens is a bit expensive. But now let me dive a bit deeper and compare it to the previous Freewell iPhone anamorphic lens, which I've been using for the last 6 to 8 months, to see if it's worth buying for you. So first of all, in terms of like the build quality, it is pretty much the same, fantastic metal build quality in here. Then the mount is also the same, 17 millimeters, which is amazing because this is by far the most versatile mounting system out there to mount a lens to your phone, because you have so many accessories that use this mounting system, like cases, cages, which means you don't have to buy a proprietary Freewell cage to use this lens. You can buy something cheaper and then just buy this lens and put it on your phone and use it. Now also the filter thread in here is the same, 58 millimeters, which is amazing because that means you can get any filter on the market as long as it is 58 millimeters and basically thread it in front of the lens and use it. For example, in the beginning of the video, with the footage in the beginning of the video, I used this filter from Haida. This is the Haida 327 stub VND/CPL filter. It is 67 millimeters, but then I took like a step down ring to 58 millimeters, and this allowed me to screw it directly on the anamorphic lens here, and then maintain the 180-degree shutter rule, and also be able to remove reflections from like water, windows, and also increase contrast in the sky without having to buy a proprietary filter for this lens, like with some other smartphone lens systems out there. But now what's definitely new about this system is that, like I told you, you do kind of get 3 lenses in one, at least in terms of like the lens flare colors. So basically before, if you wanted to get like a certain lens flare color, like a streak, you would have to buy that specific lens. Like neutral streak, you would have to buy a neutral lens, and then if you wanted to get like a golden one, you would have to buy the gold lens, and blue one, blue lens. So basically 3 separate lenses. But here they have like a new design going on where they allow you to quickly switch the lens flare color or streak. So basically, as you can see, the lens comes with these 3 different discs, and each disc is going to be like a different lens flare color, if you will. So you have like gold, neutral, and blue. Let's take the blue one for example. And then on the lens itself, you have like a little slot in here, which you can then take the disc, slide it into, and now you're going to have like a blue lens flare, if you will. And by the way, it stays inside very securely, does not go anywhere, unless you're going to press this button in here, which makes it, you know, easy to slide out. And then if you want to change the color again, you slide a new one in, and then you basically now have like a golden lens flare. Then if you want to use the neutral one, you can take it, put the neutral one in, and basically use it. So it is kind of more cost effective and convenient because you don't have to buy 3 separate lenses. And also, if you want to change the lens flare color on location, you don't have to unscrew one lens and screw in another one. You can just, you know, take out a disc, put in a new one, and you're good to go. But honestly, for me, it is a bit gimmicky because I would personally just use like one color and that's it, to keep it as simple as possible, because not only do I have to think about exposure, white balance, framing, stabilization, and all this stuff, and then I also have to think about the lens flare color. Maybe if you want to like experiment and see which color works best for you, or you do want to get different colors, this is going to work great for you. But if you are a minimal shooter like myself, I think it is a bit gimmicky, to be honest. And also, do remember that you will have to maintain the glass element in here, meaning that you cannot have like dust or scratches on this, and also you cannot have like dust or debris inside this slot in here, because if you do, you will get basically worse image quality performance, and that's one extra thing that I don't really want to think about when shooting with my iPhone out there basically. But now what's definitely is a huge upgrade for me with this lens. Let me just show you how it works with the older one. So with the older one, if you mount it on a cage or case, whatever it is, you will also have to align the lens itself to have proper vertical lines, you know, in your footage basically, because if it's going to be crooked like this, you will have like crooked footage basically. So you would have to make sure everything is properly straight. But the problem with this kind of a design is that if you put on a filter on top of the lens, so I basically now have my VND filter on, and look what happens as soon as I'm going to rotate the filter, it's also going to rotate the lens itself, meaning that I have to adjust the exposure with the filter, and then I also have to take the lens and adjust the orientation properly to have proper vertical lines. And this was very annoying with this lens because it's an extra thing again that I have to think about when shooting with the iPhone, which makes the experience a bit more cumbersome. And then with the new lens, you can also rotate the lens around, as you can see. But then in the box, they provide this little Allen key in here. And then on the lens itself, you will see like a tiny Allen screw in here, and then also a tiny Allen screw in here. And you can take the Allen key and basically secure it in place, and also secure the other one in place. Mount your filter of choice, mount everything to the cage or case you are using. And now look what happens if I'm going to rotate the filter. It's not going to rotate the lens at all, no matter how aggressively I move everything. So for me, this is definitely a huge upgrade because it makes the experience of shooting with an anamorphic lens and my iPhone far better, especially when I have like a filter in front of the lens, whereas before, you know, you had to like make sure the orientation is correct, whereas here I can just lock it in place and basically call it a day. But I would honestly still buy the older Freewell anamorphic lens because it is only $130 compared to $250. And I don't believe the ability to be able to lock the orientation of the lens is a huge enough upgrade to pay extra $120. I would only buy the new lens if you really need to be able to change the lens flare colors as quickly as possible. Otherwise, I would just get the older lens because honestly, the image quality difference between these two is non-existent. I think it is pretty much the same super high quality, you know, results you get from both of these lenses without any major differences. At least I could not notice any differences between these two lenses in terms of like optical performance. So if you want something on a budget, I would definitely consider the older Freewell iPhone anamorphic lens. It is still amazing, but if you do want to be able to change the lens flares, you know, the color of the lens flares on the spot, and also you want the ability to be able to lock the orientation of the lens to make the experience of using like a filter in front of the lens better, then get the newer one. But do remember something very important: when using an anamorphic lens with your iPhone, you will get worse stabilization performance, especially when shooting handheld. So I would only buy this lens if you are going to use it with a tripod, or if you're doing super gentle movements, or you're going to use a gimbal. I've shot all the footage throughout this video with the gimbal here because shooting handheld with an anamorphic lens and an iPhone is very hard because you're going to get like jittery artifacts on the sides, which looks very distracting. And that's happening not because of Freewell, but that's because you're basically mounting one lens on top of another lens on the iPhone, and the lens, you know, the external lens basically cannot communicate with the processor of the iPhone to be able to deliver the best stabilization performance. So only buy an anamorphic lens regardless of the brand if you are going to use either a gimbal, a tripod, or maybe if you're going to do super gentle, you know, handheld movements. But yeah, regardless, let me know down below what you think about this new Freewell iPhone anamorphic lens. I'm going to leave links down below for everything I've mentioned in this video as well. And I guess I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.